In a village where the sun kissed the earth each day and laughter filled the air, there lived a young woman named Agbomma. Her beauty was legendary. With eyes like shimmering pools and skin that glowed like the morning sun, the villagers couldn't help but admire her. Yet they believed she was proud, for she lived a life of solitude. Agbomma's days were spent tending to her small garden near her hut, and from her window she watched the villagers' gatherings with a longing in her heart. She wished she could be a part of their joy celebrations and daily life, but a strange sickness confined her to the shadows. Agbomma sits at the vegetable garden at the back of her hut and tends her vegetables. She stays there all day. She never visits anyone, and she isn't visited by anyone either, except for her only friend Agbomma. Agbomma never engaged in any of the community's festival or activity. The villagers described her as being proud and arrogant, even rude. They talked about her as one who is full of pride because of her beauty. Her beauty is indeed something to talk about. From her bold and white eyes to her long straight legs, her hair is full and has kinky texture like that of the African goddess. Some people call her the muse of the artist. Irrespective of her enchanting looks, no one knows that behind those looks are buried pains and agony. Agbomma rejected all the suitors that came to ask for hand in marriage. Everyone in the village labeled her proud and full of herself, but no one knew how she feels inside. Even Nduka, the richest businessman in the village, the dream of other women, was rejected by her. Agbomma sings beautifully with a voice of gold. The maidens in the village who are her age grade has begged her severally to join their dance group and be their lead singer, but Agbomma rather stays at her backyard and sings while tending her garden. Her life revolves around her house. Whenever she has the need to go to the market, it seems like the villagers have seen a living goddess. Some say that her beauty is new every morning. One day, as she was tending her garden, she sang songs that portrayed pain, suffering, and bitterness. Ifeoma, her friend, stood at a corner and listened attentively to the lyrics of the song. She approached her friend and asked her, "What's wrong that you're singing this kind of sorrowful song?" Agbomma simply looked at her with a faint smile and replied, "One day you'd know." Every maiden in the village wanted to be like Agbomma. They always thought to themselves, how could one person be blessed this much? Only she is extremely beautiful, sings beautifully, and has a great depth of knowledge. Only she has the highest number of suitors in that village. Other young women of her age in the village despised her for being always on her own, for they thought that it was pride that made her so. One evening, as the brightness of the sky began to fade and darkness was gradually covering the sky, Ifeoma was discussing with Agbomma in her hut when she started coughing seriously. Ifeoma ran to her pot of water and brought water for her. She drank it, but the cough continued. After some time, she began to vomit blood. Ifeoma, not knowing what to do, ran to the village herbalist for help. The herbalist followed her immediately to Agbomma's hut. When they got there, they saw her lying motionless on the floor. Ifeoma cried her eyes out. The herbalist brought out a leaf from his bag and placed it over Agbomma's nose, but she didn't move. He did this repeatedly, but nothing happened. The herbalist shook his head and said to Ifeoma, "She's gone to be with her fathers." Ifeoma held the herbalist's clothes and cried her soul out. As he was about to leave, Agbomma coughed again. He turned back and carried her weak body to his shrine. News of Agbomma's illness spread like wildfire in the whole village. The king demanded that the herbalist should run some checks on to decipher what could have caused the sudden illness of their beautiful flower. The herbalist did the king's bidding. He consulted the gods, ran some checks on her, and discovered that she was born with an ailment that gives her difficulty while breathing and eats up her heart slowly. He said that the sickness can only be managed, that she has to learn how to live with it the rest of her life. The villagers then realized why this epitome of beauty always hid in her shells, not wanting to interact with anyone. They felt sorry for this poor soul. All the young women that wanted to be like her because of her beauty blessed the gods of her beauty, blessed the gods that they were whole and healthy. Everyone has their own burden and tears they hide from the world. Overwhelmed with guilt and empathy, the villagers apologized to Agbomma for their misunderstanding. They offered their support and vowed to stand by her side through her ordeal. In their eyes, she was no longer just a beautiful face, but a courageous soul. The village united like never before. They helped Agbomma seek guidance from the village shaman, who promised to do everything in his power to find a cure or relief for her condition. And so this is the story that teaches us to love ourselves the way we are, for our biggest challenge may be nothing compared to what other people are going through.